Hello, I'm Jyotika. Welcome to Excelling Psychology. October November 2025 exams are coming. So, for practice, we will go over October November 2024 papers. We will go over model answers. As we go over them, I'll explain to you how to write answers quickly but thoroughly. First, I'm beginning with paper 2. I'm making it a 3-part lesson series to keep the lessons, the videos brief. In the first part, I am going to go over the questions that mostly come from core studies, the shorter questions. So this is variant 2 and let's begin. In the study by Milgram, the variable of obedience was measured. Describe the measure of obedience used. This is an operationalization of the DV type of question. What they can do is for any of the core studies, they can take up the dependent variable and they can ask you how it was measured, meaning how it was operationalized. When you answer such a question, the key thing is to be as specific as possible. For this question, most students will write by measuring shock levels. That is not specific, that's very broad and generalized. So, first, what you should do is specify exactly what was measured. When we say shock level, what about the shock level was measured? Secondly, there must be some criterion from that what is being measured to decide whether the participant was obedient or not. Means to decide what is the standing on the dependent variable, some criterion must be there. So we must specify that also. Okay, let's look at the model answer. We'll be able to understand better. Milgram measured obedience by recording the maximum voltage level each participant was willing to give. Not just shock, maximum voltage level. Because we know that they used to see when the participant is quitting after giving what shock level. So, maximum voltage level. You can also call it maximum shock level. Now, the criterion. How did he decide from the voltage level whether they were obedient or not? If they reached 450 volts, they were called obedient. If they stopped before that, they were labeled defiant. This was the deciding criterion. So, this is how you should answer. A good strategy can be this one has been asked for Milgram. After practicing this one, go over all the core studies, the remaining studies from Dement and Kleitman onwards. Check whether you'll be able to write a 2-marker operationalizing the dependent variable in each of the core studies. Then you'll be confident that you can answer any question of this type. Let's look at the next question. This is a general one. Explain one similarity and one difference between a positive correlation and a negative correlation. For these type of questions, make sure to look at the marks allotted first. It is for 2 marks, meaning 1 mark is being given for a similarity and 1 mark for a difference. In case it was for more marks, then it would be 2 marks similarity, 2 marks difference. Then we would have to give point example or point elaboration to get 2 marks on each. Here, because it's just 1 mark for each, we can just give 1 point for each. When it comes to positive and negative correlations, generally we think of them as opposites because they show opposite directions of relationship. But if we have to think of anything similar between them, the base concept is similar for both. So let's look at the model answer. Both show that 2 variables are related. When one changes, the other changes. That is found in case of positive and negative. Directions indicated are different, but definitely one is changing, the other is changing. So you can see I've given only one sentence. That is all that is required to score 1 mark. I need not support this with an example or a detail. It will just waste my time and I will not get any extra credit for that. Let's look at the difference. Difference is very obvious. Definitionally only or conceptually only they are different from each other. So if we just give their definitions and compare them, this positive correlation is this way, whereas negative correlation is this way. That is enough to give the difference. So in positive correlation, both variables increase or decrease together. In negative correlation, one increases, the other decreases. Another way of putting this would be in positive correlation, both variables move in the same direction. In negative correlation, they move in opposite directions. Okay, let's look at the next question. Also, because this was a general question, not from any particular course study, so we have restricted it to a general answer. As you can see in part B of the question, they have asked us to relate with the course study. Sometimes students in advance only, before looking at the next part, they'll give an example from the course study. Then they don't know what to write below, like then they cancel what they've written for the course study and again they put it below. So just make it a habit, read both parts of the question before answering. So any question which is in A, B parts or A, B, C parts and so forth, read all the parts and then only answer so that you don't waste your time. Okay, so next they have asked, describe one example of a correlation from the study by Hassett et al. This is a very straightforward question. What we had seen about correlation in that study in the results section, we just have to present that. It's for 2 marks, so how you can think about it is, first you can just specify which type of correlation was seen in the study, positive, negative or no correlation. Next, you can explain between which variables, that positive, negative or no correlation, between which two variables it was seen. So that way you will get 2 points and you can achieve 2 marks, 1 mark for each point. Let's see the model answer. In Hassett et al. Study, higher ranking monkeys were found to interact more with both types of toys. Right? Here, in fact, I've given the variables. So the variables point I've given first, higher ranking monkeys. So rank of the monkeys is one variable and type of toys. As we know, 2 types of toys were there, plush and wheeled. So type of toy is the second variable. Then the type of correlation I've specified. There was a positive correlation between rank and frequency of toy interaction. You can present it in the opposite order also. First, you can say positive correlation was found in the study, and then you can say as the social rank of the monkey increased, so did frequency with toy interaction. Just make sure you're giving the type and the variables very clearly. They should be clearly mentioned. Again, same strategy you can use. You've practiced this for Hassett et al. Then other course studies in which there were correlations. Like for example, in Holzel et al. Study, Dement and Kleitman study. See if you will be able to write a similar answer or not. Let's come to the next question. Also, yes, before moving to the next one, there are other possibilities also. I have taken the broader result of Hassett et al. That overall rank of the monkey did correlate with type of toy that they were playing with. But there are specific results in the case of female monkeys, particularly how rank and type of toy was correlated, or in the case of male monkeys. Even if you go with those results, they will be marked as correct as long as you're presenting in this format only. The type of correlation and variables, if you're making very explicit, you will get marks. Let's look at the next question. In the study by Bandura et al., details are not given about consent from the parents or children. Okay, again, make sure to read both parts before answering. So first we'll come to the first part. What is meant by informed consent? This is a general question. They have given us a STEM, but that STEM they are following through in part B. There they are talking about the Bandura study again. In part A, very generally they have asked what is informed consent, not in relation to Bandura at all. So we must give a general answer. Here if I give from Bandura, I will have nothing to write below. How we can answer this? This is for 2 marks. What is meant by informed consent? First you can give the definition that you must have learnt in research methods. In the section of ethics, what definition did you learn about informed consent? Then you can give a general example if you want to for a 2nd mark, like not from Bandura, in general, or you can bring about the importance of informed consent, why we need to maintain it, or any other elaboration. If you have more to say about the guideline itself, like besides the definition, some other meaning you want to add to it, that sort of elaboration you can give. Anytime a concept is asked, like in this case informed consent, like that any research method concept can be asked. So say any other ethic is asked, harm, protection from harm, I'm sorry, debriefing, or any other concept also, like say what is an independent variable, what is a dependent variable, what is an experimental design. Always begin with the definition. That's always the good way of starting. Make the concept clear. Then second point for a 2nd mark is up to you. If it's for 1 mark, you can just give the definition. But if a 2nd mark is involved, either give an example further or some importance or elaboration, that will always remain. So again, let's look at a model answer as an example of how to answer these type of questions. So definition wise, informed consent means, the informed part means telling participant clearly what the study involves. One example I've given, including their right to withdraw. I can give many more examples. including what tasks they will have to perform, whether their data will be kept confidential or not. But given the fact that it's just for 2 marks, I don't want to elaborate too much. So one example, telling participants clearly what is there, such as right to withdraw, before asking them if they are happy to take part. I could put it more formally also, before taking their agreement to take part, before taking their written agreement to take part. I've just tried to keep the model answers very simple so that all of students can understand them. So the informed part is telling them clearly that they have a right to withdraw. That gives me 1 mark. The definition is clear here. Then as an elaboration, I've given the second part. What is the consent part? Asking them whether they are happy to take part. So that is a way of giving. Alternatively, if I was not giving this elaboration, I could have given an example. For example, telling participants that they must answer a questionnaire, and if they want to withdraw, they can leave at any time. This would be a simple example of informed consent. Or I could give the importance, because human participants are involved, they shouldn't feel cheated later that without being told what the study is about, they were made to participate. So this guideline is important. I can put it that way also. And let's look at the final question for this part. Suggest how informed consent could have been obtained from the children in this study in a way that they would have understood. This is a very straightforward question. In Bandura's study, we know 3 to 6-year-old children were there, preschool, very young children. Now, in a way that they would have understood, for these type of questions, wherever they are asking about how some instruction should be given, how things should be made clear to participants, I always recommend giving direct quotes. Exactly what will be said, give as an example in quotes, as speech that would be given. Direct speech should be quoted. Otherwise, it becomes vague. Like if I say, children should have been told in simple language that they are required to take part in the study, that does not bring about effectively how that instruction is different in the case of children as compared to adults. Like you're leaving it to the examiner's imagination. Don't do that. Directly give an example. This is how the examiner would speak to, the researcher would speak to children. So for 2 marks, how you can think of it is, they have asked how it can be presented. So first you can just name the way of presentation. Something like child-friendly language should be used, or in simple language it should be said. First you just name that. Then the second part, which I was telling you about, give in direct quotes the example. This is what could have been said to children. Okay, again let's see a model answer to understand. Researchers could have explained the study in child-friendly words or using pictures. I've given 2 examples, friendly words or pictures. You can give any one also. This gives me 1 mark because this is way of presentation. Then to say exactly what would have been told. Here, be careful to use simple language, because when you're saying child-friendly words or simple language should be used, then your quote should not mismatch with what you have said before. So simple words can be, or child-friendly words. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. A child can understand this. A 3 to 6-year-old child can understand without using any jargon like you can withdraw at any time, or you can refuse participation at any time. This is how we would talk to children. Okay, so this is for part 1 of the video. In the next part, we are looking at unseen type of questions, those scenarios which come up, and we have to apply research methods knowledge to answer them. And also 6-marker question will be covered in the next part. So if this part has been helpful to you, just move over to the next part, which is going to be the immediate next video. Thank you for watching.